just to start believing in your imagination again. Because for me as that kid, I was told, how many of us have been told that or think that's for children? And deep down, your imagination's in you and it's screaming out like, don't give up on me. Your imagination is your superpower. But then there's a B side of that. Your imagination can also be your kryptonite. And you see, imagination is such a powerful thing. On the flip side of that, there's a great quote I've heard that said, worry is a misuse of your imagination. Any of us ever misuse our imagination worrying? Yeah. Like a lot. Like hearing that voice, you can't do this. You're not good enough for that. And then you're up all night. And then you're starting to imagine the worst case scenario. And then the next thing you know, you've talked yourself out of doing whatever it is that your dream is. Even, I'm talking about marriage, in my life, even in my marriage, I remember there was a time when my wife and I were separated. Way earlier, it was about 10 years ago. We were living separately, and I thought it was over. And I had finally accepted that. We had been through hell, and I was finally like, okay, I'm accepting it's over. And then all of a sudden she shows up, and she had gone to our church and talked to the counselor there and said, let's try just one more time going to counseling. And I remember sometimes it's scary just to have hope again. And my imagination started going off thinking, what if you get back together and all this horrible stuff starts happening and you get your heart broken again? And so before I even started to rebuild it again, I was already imagining in my head the worst case scenario, and I was wanting to give up before I even started. And how many of us do that with our purpose? We give up because, let's be honest, a lot of the times it's so much easier not to have hope again, because that means we don't have to fail. We don't have to step out there and risk failing. We don't have to step out there and risk having someone break our heart. But then we also miss, now you saw her today, 12 years later, our marriage is more powerful than ever. We made it work. It worked out. We have a foundation that's unbreakable now because we didn't give up. We stayed committed. And it was bigger than us. We had a why. We have our 5 children. What if I had let my imagination get the better of me? I would have given up before I ever even started. So I'm telling all of you here today that when you're continuing to go after whatever it is, because all of you that I've talked to, I've spoke at a lot of places, and I was just telling Bill earlier, you are all an amazing group. There's so many different levels of intelligence here, and your hearts are all so pure and in the right spot. It's amazing. Some of the stuff everyone's been talking about, you all can be doing things that can be blowing me out of the water. I'm not joking with all of you. I love it. I love the variety. I love that there's younger people here wanting to learn. There's so much that you can do, but please, please, please don't use that B side of imagination that I'm talking about to allow you to start worrying. And it's going to happen. It happens to all of us. It's that voice Bill talks about all the time. When it does, just be aware of it and let it go. Like, one of the greatest things I learned about letting go, one of the best analogies is when that little voice comes, when that worry comes, rather than even arguing with it, like this morning before I'm talking, you're not good enough to talk. Even though I've been doing these for a long time, you can't do a keynote, Mark. I like to be honest with everyone. I still go through it. Who are you to think anyone's going to care what you have to say? What if you screw up? And I used to sit there and argue with that voice and be like, I've done this, and I'm getting better at. I just imagine like a helium balloon, and I'm just like, cool, Johnny. It's filled with helium. I just let it go. The thought comes, what if you just sweet boom? You can't do your dream. You can't. I'm not even going to continue to give it airplay. Just keep letting it go like little balloons of helium. Don't even think why. Don't overthink it. Because overthinking is when you use your imagination that leads to paralyzation. And that's the worst place. That leads to the land of dwelling, which brings you back to the land of mediocrity. And I've been there so many times. I'm up here talking as someone. I'm not up here saying that I haven't been through all that. I love talking about fear and doubt and going after your dreams because I've battled it my whole life. And I'm so happy to be honest with it to let all of you know that if I can do this absolutely 120%, I don't know if that's a mathematical term or not, Cindy, but 100% all of you can.